You're listening to The Bible Guys, a podcast where a couple of friends talk about the Bible in fun and practical ways.
Well, good morning.
Ooh,
good morning.
we're starting a week.
We talk the whole night through. Good morning. Good morning to you and you and you.
What a way to start the week, Chris.
I don't think I've ever done it on a Monday.
I mean,
do you remember a Monday starting off that way?
Never. So you just shot us into stress. I can't imagine this week getting much better.
Yeah, we just shot an adrenaline shot in everybody's arm.
We reached the pinnacle of the week in the first 15 seconds of the day.
Well, that's all we have. Good night, everybody. Or good morning, I guess.
Yeah, wow.
So, hey, good morning. We are the Bible Guys, and we are here to talk about the Bible.
Oh, okay. How about that?
In fun and practical ways.
How about that? Who would have thought? You know, some guys turn and say, "Oh, I thought this was a sports course."
Right. Not the way we roll.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, this is one of your favorite.
Is it?
Yeah, you like the
One
this and that.
go?
The this or that,
the this
and the one
or
must.
that's, the
It's kind of what it is. Yeah, you like these.
Yeah.
So this is a one must go.
Well, I like the would you rather's.
Would you rather?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
That's the one I like.
Okay.
But you know, it's very similar. It gives you a choice. This is called One Must Go, and it says, hey, which one stays and which one goes away forever, and the thing that we can never decide is this for the world or just for ourselves?
Yeah, it's for the world.
It has to be for the world.
It's for the world.
It's for
all people.
Who cares about your preference?
Yeah. Well, we like setting ourselves up as kings of the universe anyway.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah,
That's right. All right, go ahead.
Okay, here's the first one. Would you pineapple on pizza or mushrooms on pizza? Which one goes away forever?
For the world, it'd have to be pineapple on pizza.
Yeah.
Although I love both.
I do too.
Yeah. But
I always forget how much I like pineapple on pizza until I have a pizza with pineapple on it. Then I'm like, why don't I order this more?
Right. But it has to be that way because pineapple on pizza is sort of a thing that people don't like.
Yeah. So if I agree. Well, people don't like mushrooms either.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
But the difference is, pizza is fundamentally an Italian concept.
Yes, that's right.
And there is no pineapple in Italy.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't happen.
Pineapple on pizza, it's not really a pizza
My
item.
ancestors are rolling in their graves.
Okay, go for it.
Number 2, candy corn goes away forever or black licorice.
Ooh, I'm going candy corn. Candy corn without even thinking twice.
I'm going to go black licorice.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? So you don't like licorice?
Well, here's the thing. I think that a lot of people hate candy corn.
Absolutely.
But I personally think black licorice is from the devil.
See, I was going to say whoever invented candy corn. You know, we've taken some strong stands these last few weeks. And I was going to say whoever invented candy corn can't go to heaven.
There was a guy that just was at the baptism service on Monday. And he goes, I started listening to the Bible Guys. And he goes, and I'm new to Heritage. He goes, and I didn't feel welcome. And I go, what do you mean? I was in that back bathroom. He was changing. He got baptized. And he goes, I was told that if I owned an Android, I wasn't going to heaven.
Well, okay, we'll make an exception for him.
Okay,
right.
Good.
But candy corn is my thing, man.
Black licorice is terrible.
Okay, well then they have to both go. I'm not going to be mad about it. Boot them both.
I'm not mad about that.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead. Oh, is it me?
No, it's me.
Go ahead.
Peanut butter and jelly or grilled cheese sandwiches?
These are two phenomenal options. Ooh. And people bail to these as easy sandwiches that are favorites.
Oh. Yeah, so I promise you, my last 2 meals.
Yes.
Last night, I got home from the airport and I had grilled cheese.
Wow.
This morning, I got up at 4 something in the morning.
Yeah.
My clock is off, from traveling.
Yeah.
And I was crazy hungry, so I went down and made 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Those are my last 2 meals.
Are you kidding me?
I promise you, yeah.
Wow.
I don't... Oh, hey, since we kicked out candy corn and black licorice, can we keep both of these?
Oh, I like it. We're breaking the rules. Man, we are on fire today. We are wild. Take that, Desiree.
That's right. But which one would you get rid of if you had to? I don't know that I can choose one.
I don't know if I can choose one either.
I literally, my last 2 meals, I've chosen those 2 things.
Okay, here's what I would say. I would say peanut butter and jelly, you got to keep that for the kids.
Yeah.
Although grilled cheese is for the kids,
grilled cheese, I know.
Ooh, that's tough.
So I have a recipe for...
I'm going to keep peanut butter and jelly.
I have a recipe for grilled cheese.
Yeah.
Sandwich. It's phenomenal. And it also has like sauteed pears and bacon.
Whoa.
Oh, let me tell you how good it is. I know.
Wow.
So good.
Wow.
Okay.
I
What's the
personally
next
would
one?
keep grilled cheese. Anyway.
Yeah, I like them both, but yeah, I'd probably keep grilled cheese, but I love peanut butter and jelly. Okay, anyways.
All right, so how about this one? Butterscotch goes away forever. I'm thinking the whole flavor, or hazelnut flavors.
Yeah. Okay, so all the grandmothers in the world, or all of the Swiss.
Right.
One or the other.
Yeah, and they're at home listening right now. They're going, "Don't you dare say butterscotch."
Okay. Yeah. I would say butterscotch has to go. I love
say
hazelnut.
So too. Yeah, hazelnut is
Nutella.
Actually, it's more universal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't get rid of Nutella.
There you go.
That's or Ferrero Rochers.
Oh.
Those little candies.
Yeah, that's the ones I didn't know.
I know you didn't know them. I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now it's yours.
No, that's you.
Okay. Banana split or classic ice cream cone?
Oh. Well, I'd have to do banana split, just because it's not as popular as the classic ice cream cone.
Right. Me too. I would get rid of the banana split. It'd be difficult.
Right.
Yeah. When was the last time you had a good ice cream cone?
2 days ago.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow. Mine was last week. No, the day before I left for going overseas. So it was, 7 days ago. We stopped at Cold Stone. It was like 20 degrees outside, 15 degrees outside. We stopped at Cold Stone for ice cream. Yeah. Hey.
Well, hey, I got to tell you something. That segment was a basket of fun.
Oh, good.
And speaking of baskets, this story has a basket full of severed heads.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. A basket of fun.
A basket of severed heads.
Okay. Well, very good.
Come on.
That is a good one. That is a horrible transition. A basket full of heads.
Yes,
okay.
It's true.
Well,
it's
good.
true.
Good job, Chris.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know what? Your family's going to be proud of you.
I'm also proud of me.
Yeah. Okay.
My wife watched the Bible Guys this morning, as she always does, getting ready. And I got up, and we were, fiddling around in the bathroom, and she looks at me, and she goes, "Are you going in for a taping of the Bible Guys?" I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Stop yawning." And I said, I can't. I said, it's low lighting.
Yeah,
I said,
Jeff is just the most boring person I've ever had to sit next to.
It's not about boredom. I don't yawn for boredom.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay, well, here we are. We're in 2 Kings chapter 10. And as you mentioned, there's a basket of heads. And Jehu kills Ahab's family is what happens here.
Yes.
So if this is a good morning and you're having devotions and you're sitting there sipping your tea or your coffee and looking out into the woods at the deer walking by, we just thought we'd read this story.
No doubt.
To kind of kick off the day.
No doubt.
And hey, maybe this is the indication that when they go into work today, the heads are going to roll or something.
Ooh, look at that.
There you go.
Wow.
That's a double. That's a double right there. That's a twofer.
There's puns everywhere.
Okay, 2 Kings chapter 10, verse 1 says, Ahab had 70 sons. Let me say, I met a guy this week who has 54 sons, 54 kids.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not joking.
Wow.
Yeah. We were on
Was he a donor at one of those banks?
No. We were on the border of Kenya and South Sudan.
Yeah.
And we were in the village, and one of the chiefs asked me, or elders asked me how many kids I have. So I started to pull out my phone and show him my 3 kids. And he stops me. And so he was just wanting to make a point. He says, I have 54 kids. Yeah, he also has like 8 wives or something, but yeah.
Wow, that is...
Anyway, so Ahab had 70.
Wow.
70 sons.
Wow.
So not just 70 kids. Mm-hmm. Dude had 70 sons.
Which means he had daughters somewhere
That's
else.
a couple of NFL football teams.
Right.
Anyways,
yeah.
Living in the city of Samaria. So Jehu wrote letters and sent them to Samaria to the elders and officials of the city and to the guardians of King Ahab's sons. He said, the king's sons are with you, and you have at your disposal chariots, horses, a fortified city, and weapons. As soon as you receive this letter, select the best qualified of your master's sons to be your king, and be prepared to fight for Ahab's dynasty. But they were paralyzed with fear, and they said, we've seen that 2 kings can't stand against this man. What can we do? So the palace and city administrators, together with the elders and guardians of the king's sons, sent this message to Jehu. We are your servants, and will do anything you tell us. We will not make anyone king. Do whatever you think is best. Jehu responded with a second letter. If you are on my side and are going to obey me, bring the heads of your master's sons to me at Jezreel by this time tomorrow. Now the 70 sons of the king were being cared for by the leaders of Samaria, where they had been raised since childhood. When the letter arrived, the leaders killed all 70 of the king's sons. They placed their heads in baskets and presented them to Jehu at Jezreel. A messenger went to Jehu and said, "They have brought the heads of the king's sons." So Jehu ordered, "Pile them into 2 heaps at the entrance of the city gate and leave them there until morning." In the morning, he went out and spoke to the crowd that had gathered around them. "You are not to blame," he told them. "I am the one who conspired against my master and killed him. But who killed all these? You can be sure that the message of the Lord that was spoken concerning Ahab's family will not fail. The Lord declared through his servant Elijah that this would happen." Then Jehu killed all who were left of Ahab's relatives living in Jezreel, and all his important officials, his personal friends, and his priests. So Ahab was left without a single survivor. Then Jehu set out for Samaria. Along the way, while he was at Beth-Eked of the shepherds, he met some relatives of King Ahaziah of Judah. "Who are you?" he asked them, and they replied, "We are relatives of King Ahaziah. We're going to visit the sons of King Ahab and the sons of the queen mother." "Take them alive," Jehu shouted to his men. And they captured all 42 of them and killed them at the well of Beth-Eked. None of them escaped. When Jehu left there, he met Jehonadab, son of Rechab, who had been coming to meet him. After they had greeted each other, Jehu said to him, "Are you as loyal to me as I am to you?" "Yes, I am," Jehonadab replied. "If you are," Jehu said, "then give me your hand." So Jehonadab put out his head, and Jehu helped him into the chariot. Then Jehu said, "Now come with me and see how devoted I am to the Lord." So Jehonadab rode along with him. When Jehu arrived in Samaria, he killed everyone who was left there from Ahab's family, just as the Lord had promised through Elijah. Well,
yeah.
You want to sing good morning again?
Yeah, right?
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
That's a crazy one, man.
Yeah. So I was actually just glancing at this note. We actually love the Life Application Study Bible.
Absolutely.
And there's a note on here on verse number 11, which, by the way, I guess we should start with the fact that this was prophesied by Elijah.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it mentioned it in the scripture, right?
That's right.
But like back in like 1 Kings, I think it was something like that. Elijah had said to Ahab, because he was it the vineyard? Was it Nahab's vineyard? What was it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Naboth.
Naboth. Yeah, that's what his name is. All these goofy names.
Yeah.
But because he had in Jezebel had killed him to steal his property in his vineyard, basically.
Right.
God had said he was going to wipe him out and wipe out everybody. He said, none of your sons will sit on the thrones.
Right.
And then Ahab repented a little bit and said he was so sorry. And so then God made a proclamation and said, okay, the prophecy will come true. No, Elijah said this. He said, the prophecy will come true, but it won't come true in your lifetime.
Right.
He said it'll come true, but it'll come later. And so here it is now. It's later, and so Ahab has sons, and so they're definitely being killed to satisfy the prophecy. Anyway, but here's what verse number 11 says. You ready for this?
Yes.
And by the way, you could easily overlook this because of all the slaughtering that's happening. But it says, then Jehu...
Oh, I hadn't noticed.
Right. Then Jehu killed all who were left of Ahab's relatives living in Jezreel, and all his important... Ready for this? All his important officials. That wasn't in the prophecy.
Right.
Right? His personal friends, comma.
Right.
And his priests. So Ahab was left without a single survivor. So Jehu definitely fulfilled what God said, but he went too far. And so in 2 Kings chapter 10, verse 11, it says this, the note. In his zeal, Jehu went far beyond the Lord's command with the bloodshed, or the bloodbath. The prophet Hosea later announced punishment upon Jehu's dynasty for this senseless slaughter, as recorded in Hosea chapter 1, verses 4 and 5. Many times in history, religious people, quote-unquote religious, have mixed faith with personal ambition, power, or cruelty without God's consent or blessing. To use God or the Bible to condone oppression is wrong. When people attack Christianity because of atrocities that Christians carried out, help them see that these men and women were using faith for their own political ends and they were not following Christ. Yeah. So
wow.
it's like...
So that's a great note, by the way.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, that's a really great note.
Because you could easily... think about all the think about all the slaughter that's happening.
Yeah.
You've got baskets of heads being dumped out in 2 piles by the city gates. Yeah. And then you have people from the south coming up wanting to see the king's sons, and he's like, kill them all.
Right.
And it's just a senseless slaughter.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Executing the 70, that was part of the judgment of God. It was declared, and sometimes we talk about, there's a difference between the Old Testament God and New Testament God kind of a thing. But Paul affirms this idea in Galatians chapter 6, where he says, don't be misled. You cannot mock God's justice, right? Whatever a person sows, that's what he's going to reap. Whatever you plant, that's what you're going to harvest. And what Ahab had planted was only evil continually, had raised his sons to do the same, had funded all the priests of Baal and of Ashtaroth. He had only done evil, and God was able to look into time and go, hey, it's never going to get better. Right. We got to get rid of all of them, right? So he's going to wipe them out. And this is the justice of God. Jehu was ordered to do it, right? God had told him in this, hey, I'm going to make you king, but you've got to wipe out these kings.
Yeah, it was literally an assignment.
Right. It was an assignment from God. And so in that situation, then he went and did his job. The problem is he went way beyond, senseless taking of a life. Now he's breaking the commandments of God. The commandment was, as a government leader, as the head of your government, I want you to go and execute these evil people. Okay, that's a part of the government, the role of government. But then you can see it's almost like a vendetta here. He's just going after everybody that might like Ahab. And that's a different thing. He killed his friends. Yeah. His friends didn't do those things, right? He went after other people, and certainly there's a vendetta there. I think that was a fabulous note. Just a great note. And don't use God's words to justify your bad behaviors.
And remember, back then, people ruled by fear.
Yeah.
So,
and the world still rules that way mostly. Yeah.
Right, right, and so it could be that Jehu said, "Hey, I'm not just going to take out Ahab's relatives, but I'm going to let everybody know." Yeah. That even if you side with Ahab, if his best friends obviously were loyal to Ahab, right?
Right.
So even if you have a loyalty or an allegiance, let it be known, right? That it's not going to be tolerated. So he executes his own personal agenda, because he's been given this assignment. So
politically, it makes sense to me a little bit in that environment where, you seized thrones. If you didn't inherit a throne, the only way to get a throne would be to seize the throne.
Right, the Game of Thrones.
So just before this, he kills Joram and Ahaziah, two other kings. So he has an opportunity here to unify Israel, bring Judah back in, and he's taken over Ahab's world as well. So then he wipes out Ahaziah's sons, which wasn't part of the command. Right. He's on a slaughter fest of his own ambition here at this moment, and it's pretty horrible stuff. But I think that there is something to this idea that the roosters do come home to roost, right? The chickens come home to roost. God said, Ahab, it's going to cost you everything, not just you, your sons. And we can make decisions that wind up going generations deep, good or bad.
I don't know the phrase "roosters come home to roost." What does that mean?
You don't know the phrase? Well, it's chickens. Chickens always come home to roost.
I don't know that phrase.
You can let chickens out in the yard without a fence, and they'll just walk around and eat all day long. They'll scratch up bugs and stuff like that. But then when the sun starts to set, they'll always come back to wherever it is they like to roost. So if you have a chicken coop for them, they'll come. You just leave the door open. They'll come back in, get up in the roost, and go to bed where they go. If they, a lot of places they roost up in the trees, and so they'll have a tree that they always come back to the same place to roost in.
Huh.
So you can let it all go. You can let your life go. You can do all the things, but eventually it's all going to come back to you.
Wow.
And that's you didn't know that phrase?
No,
okay.
I
always come home to roost.
I grew up with chickens like you.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Or a dad who used all those weird phrases.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. My dad used certain phrases, but not Yeah.
Exactly.
So there's a sermon in there somewhere. There's a lot of sermons.
But it always comes back to you, is what I'm saying. It comes back way worse.
Yeah.
It comes back way worse.
Like the Galatians 6:7 that you just quoted. But there's another sermon in there, which is, so God gives us his law, and we need to pay attention. We have commandments, we have promises, right? We have guidelines in our lives, and we should learn to pay attention to exactly what God said. It reminds me of just 2 days ago, we were preaching at our church Heritage, and I was included in the scripture was the fall of Adam and Eve, remember? And And the serpent Satan said to Eve, "Did God really say that you can't eat of any of the trees of the fruit of the garden?"
Right.
And he's trying to make God to say something that He didn't say.
Right.
Because obviously that God didn't say that. You can eat everything except for one fruit, right? And then Eve comes back and she says, No. God said that we're allowed to eat of all the fruit, but it's just the tree in the middle of the garden, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that we cannot eat from it. And then she adds to it, and she says, He said that you may not eat it or even touch it, or lest we'll die. Well, God never said that. Because we just had looked at it in Genesis chapter 2.
Right.
When God gave the commandment to Adam, He just said, don't eat of it.
Right.
You'll surely die. And then here's Eve adding to what God said. You're not going to eat it. You can't even touch it, or else you're going to die. And I thought to myself, that is so funny. It's the same thing that Jehu's doing here. God says, hey, here's the assignment. Jehu's like, I'll do that, and I'll add to it.
Yeah, watch this.
Right, watch this, right? Yeah. Hold my prune juice, whatever.
That's right.
And so it's just interesting how we do the same thing. And so even though this story is outlandish and crazy and it's like it seems completely unrelatable, like when's the last time you killed 70 people and put their baskets in, or heads in baskets? Well, your chances are you're never going to do that, right? But there is a relatable principle, which is don't add to what God says. Don't add to what we think that God says this and that, and that could be in the form of like legalism, adding rules upon rules, right?
Right.
Hey, here's a rule to make sure that you don't break the rule that God gave.
Right.
That's legalism. That's pharisaical, and or it could be that we decide to justify God's law, and so we do what we want to do, and we attach it to something that God says, but we want to do it, so we just attach to it. We do that stuff all the time.
Right. I think, so tomorrow we're going to talk about Jehu keeps going, right? And he's really cleaning house.
Yeah.
So it mentions here that he kills all of the sons of Ahab and Jezebel, and then he kills all of the friends. That's right. Inappropriate. And then he kills all the priests, which goes back to being appropriate again, in the same way that Elijah killed all the prophets of Baal, right? So tomorrow he's going to pick that up and he's going to keep cleaning house. And there is something to be said about going all the way on a thing.
Right.
Now, what he did was illegal. What he did was immoral with the friends of the king. But in cleaning house, there's something to be said about saying, you know what, I'm not going to go halfway. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be partly in with God. I'm going all the way with what God has to say. And, so I can appreciate his zeal. I can appreciate his enthusiasm. But even when you're excited, you have to make sure that what you're doing aligns with what God's words say. Right. And that's where the danger comes. So this is one of the reasons why I think, again, and we commend our listeners, and it's not because you're listening to us, but because you're choosing to spend 20, 25 minutes just contemplating God's words and what God has to say. And then you're wondering, how does this apply in my life? And the more you take in God's words, even in the zeal or in the excitement of the moment, you're able to filter that just a little bit more and make wiser choices, right? Hopefully, that you would do. God's never going to ask you to do something against what he's already said in his word.
Right.
So as a governor, as a king, hey, I need you to go wipe out this other king's family. That sounds horrible to us. It's the responsibility of the government leader to do that, right? But he doesn't say go wipe out his friends and family. That's just murder.
Right.
And so how do you filter those? How do you know? How do you know which is right or which is wrong? It's in God's word. So God has said kings must follow me or they're going to be wiped out. God had declared through God's man Elijah, this king's family is going to be wiped out. You could see the words of God were very precise, and then he went beyond the words of God. And I think there's so much danger in that we don't go beyond what God's word says.
And because we're in the middle of this series of highlighting, things from the Old Testament, we can go all the way back when Israel first demanded a king.
Yeah.
And then who was it? Samuel, who said, okay, here's what God says. If you choose to go with kings, here's how the kings are going to behave. Yeah. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what they're going to do. Here's what they're not going to do. And then he listed out basically all the things that they're living out currently right now. And the people heard everything. And then what did they say? Give us a king.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. They heard how bad it was going to be, and then they're going to do it anyways. Yeah,
we want what we want.
Yeah,
regardless, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, that is our time, and so we will definitely pick up tomorrow with Jehu, and hopefully we'll see you then on the Bible Guys.